What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hail to the King, a 70-year Godzilla retrospective where we are discussing all 40 films. We're going to be discussing 2 of the TV series that shaped around them, which are Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and then back to Godzilla, the anime series that came out on Netflix in 2016. So we're going to have a lot of fun going through this. We're going to have a lot of great guests along for the ride, but I've had 2 amazing panelists join me so far on this journey, and I'm having such a great time. Trevor Stottlemyre from Ambassador Radio and Media, and of course, you know Sir Sturdy from Horror with Sir Sturdy. These guys know their stuff, and I'm so happy to be talking to them about one of the greatest creatures to ever be put on screen, Godzilla. That's right. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to bring them in here and have them join us, but let's talk about Godzilla and more. This episode, we're talking about Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters Attack, and Godzilla versus Hedorah, or the Smog Monster, depending on where you are. So let's go into them. Let's have a lot of fun. Let us know what you think. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit that bell so you know when more shows like this and other great shows are coming out as well. Let's get started. Guys, thank you so much for joining in today. We're back with episode 4. We're talking about 3 bizarre Godzilla installments in this series. I don't know that I'm going to have anything bad to say about them, but they are definitely bizarre. But before we get into it, let's start with Destroy All Monsters. Guys, what'd you think going into this movie watching it? Let's start there.
I like this one. Destroy All Monsters was the one I liked the most out of the 3. I just had a good time with it. It was fun. I was sitting here a lot. I'm like, oh shit, Monster Island. What's going on? What's this? They're all on the same island. This is different. This isn't what it's not what I was expecting, but it was kind of what I was hoping for. I wish they started fighting a little sooner. But other than that, I had some fun with it. I'm like this. But I gotta admit something though, really quick before we get too deep into this, guys. I did watch that one earlier this week. So this one didn't get affected by it, but the other 2 did.
Go ahead and tell them. Make your pitch. Make your pitch for it while it's in theaters now.
I watched -1 in black and white. And it's the first time I've seen -1. I didn't go see it last year when it was in color and all that. -1, minus the color. Listen, it's there for a week. If you have not seen the movie, go watch it. If you have seen the movie in color, Mick, go watch it. The reason why I'm calling Mick out is because Mick has been telling me since last year to go watch this damn movie. And after I seen it in black and white, and the feels that I got from it, not only that, which we did review in that other episode will be dropping very shortly. Anyways, but not only that, so my wife went with me, right? And she was telling me, like, when she would, with her father, she'd watch it with her father, and she never really liked it. But as a kid, you're watching TV, whatever the hell's on TV that your parents want to watch, that's what you're watching. You know how, real quick, it's bad. It's flipped around nowadays. Parents, you got to put your foot down. You guys are soft.
Make them watch
Godzilla.
Anyway. I'm for it.
But no, anyway, though, like, she was talking about how she didn't like this film, or she didn't care for Godzilla. And I told Mick this yesterday. I said she went in there saying she didn't want to see the movie. She left there with tears in her eyes. That's how beautiful that freaking movie was. And
that is Godzilla. That's what I love about it. You can get these movies we see tonight. You can get better, worse, but you enjoy it.
That was one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. That was just so good. It was just the emotions with it, the story around, like, the story was told so freaking well, and it was gorgeous. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Make sure to check out his full review and then our retrospective look back at it when it comes. But I want to hear what you think too.
Well, as far as -1, I think we might have brought this up, but Sturdy, you loved it. If you don't know this, you're going to love it so much more. Take a guess how much the full budget for that film was.
Oh, I know.
Actually, I don't know full hand.
$15,000.
What? Wait, what?
1,000?
No, 15 million. Pardon.
Oh no! Did you hear what the director said?
15 million.
Did you hear what the director said when they said 15 million? He says, "I wish I had 15 million on that."
Yeah.
So like,
they're even putting in the promotions element of it in Japan.
I am so enthralled with this and what they did with this movie and what I know Toho is going to do with Godzilla going forward. This was not a swan song. This was we can do it better. Don't worry. And like, I love the Legendary movies, and I think they're taking it in a really fun route. But I like the Legendary movies. Why I like these 3 movies tonight. They're better. They're better quality. I'll say that they're better quality, better story than these 3 movies. But I liked these movies because honestly, I got to like Son of Godzilla, All Monsters Attack, and the Smog Monster. My kid could watch. My real young kid could watch them and have a lot of fun with them and not be freaked out like he would with -1 or the original, this, that, and the other thing. But I will say, starting with Destroy All Monsters, it's taking the formula of Astro Monsters, taking the formula of a lot of what we were seeing at the time, but but I think they did such a really good job incorporating every monster, giving it like this base where everything's protected, and then using them to turn on it. I absolutely enjoyed this. What did you think about this movie, Trevor? Because we didn't really get to what you were thinking.
Well, okay, so this has always been a favorite of mine. And part of the reason why it was a favorite was growing up on Godzilla films, this was the hardest one to find at that time. And I was actually a bit older by the time I actually was able to track down a copy of it. It is a return for Hiroshiro Honda, and some things that are very important pertaining to the film is it was in certain ways supposed to be a swan song for Godzilla and the other kaiju characters, because Iji Tsuburaya might have created Godzilla, but the success of Ultraman and all the spin-offs in the late 60s really harmed kaiju film. Kaiju film was not making money, and Destroy All Monsters was on a very, very tight budget and one of the shortest shooting schedules that Honda was ever given. So in just that, it is a phenomenal film, considering it's, one of the first times that Honda is working with a limited budget in the Godzilla series.
Now, did you think that because we do sort of get our own Ultraman in the 70s in one of the Godzilla?
King Caesar. No,
Jet Jaguar.
Jet Jaguar. Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's Megalon. I think that's coming up next, so we'll talk about it on episode 5. But for the times, do you think that's why when we get from Destroy All Monsters and then we go into All Monsters Attack, and then you get into even furthering it with the Smog Monster and the child base there, do you think maybe they were taking that realm with the monsters because they didn't think they could compete in the action?
There was Toho was adamant at this time that the films had to connect with children, that they wanted that. And that was agreed upon by long-term producer Tanaka also.
When do you think
they weren't doing well? So, you went after the Ultraman crowd.
Now, the success or not the non-success of the next two, All Monsters Attack, and I think Hedorah didn't do well either, if I'm correct.
We'll get to that when we get to that.
Do you think that's why because one thing I do really like about Godzilla and story, I want to know what you think about this too, is Godzilla seems ever evolving. You may have a few movies here, and if it works, they'll stick with it. But then if it stops working, or they realize this isn't the hit anymore, it seems Godzilla takes a new route, and it really works. They'll still stick to the fundamentals, but how do you guys feel about that so far while rewatching these, or for in some cases watching them for the first time?
Well, as far as Destroy All Monsters go, Honda and his crew, and this is the last film that Tsuburaya was directly connected with. And even then, not really, because he was spending all his time on Ultraman and Tsuburaya Productions. So this film was written quickly. It was written for the first time by Inoshiro Honda. And you got to give him amazing credit, because he did pick up at Astro Monsters thematically, kind of story-wise, but he doesn't look at the Jun Fukuda ones and go, Son of Godzilla, He creates Monster Island. And, he does a really beautiful job of not forgetting there were two films before it. And, to basically make what was supposed to be the final battle and still pull some of the, what are actually kind of crummy elements of the first two, or those two films, Ibira and Son of Godzilla. I mean, that's a reverence to the fact that these films were made. We cannot ignore them. So, I had this, I think, is a phenomenal film.
I love it. All right, sir, what do you think about Destroy All Monsters? Let's go there.
Destroy All Monsters, like I said, this one I had a really good time with, and I'm glad I watched it before -1. I just can't get, because it's so lodged in my head right now. Like, even though I just watched the third movie for this week, -1 is overtaking everything everything in my life right now. But no, this one I had, like I said, I had a good time with this one, and you could tell, like you guys were both saying, that actually, even with the past Son of Godzilla, it's more geared towards children, and you can understand, you can see why, because I mean, with everything, I guess people would notice it back then, definitely notice it nowadays. And when we were kids, like if the kids are into it, it's similar. Like if women are into it, it's gonna get bought, it's gonna get watched, it's gonna get, and that's just how the world works. You can look at life now, and it's still that same way. If you can get, say, 75% of women to enjoy it, and about that same amount of percentage of kids to want it, it's gonna last for a long time. If us men, for us men, it doesn't really like we're just there. We're just there because I feel like with us men, throughout time, we kind of like the same shit over and over and over. So it's just like
I think we get what we're attracted to.
we do.
I think that's
But
great.
but it's kind of cool. Like looking back and seeing this movie from the '60s is like, okay, we need to target the children. We need to target the children. Of course, you already have us that were already watching it. For those that were watching it, I'm saying, not me per se. That the adults that were already watching it, the men that are already watching it, they're still going to watch it. Now it's like, oh, cool. Now I can watch this with my kid. Now I can watch this with my kid, and it's not too scary for them. They'll find it fun. And I'm assuming the movies may mature from here on out. I'm hoping, or maybe a little later on from on out, and kind of grow with the family, so to speak. And that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping.
I think you're going to get to some really fun ones, and then it changes drastic direction in the 80s. But I honestly like, and once we get there, I can't wait to have that conversation, because I had a really good time in the 80s. Let's just say with 3 property. So we'll be able to really have some fun with that one. But the drastic change from, and to kind of go into all monsters attack, Destroy All Monsters I really enjoyed. Destroy All Monsters all over the place, took it on a really wide scope, and I thought that was great. And I thought that we got the fact that it's a Godzilla film, which I don't know if it was intended originally to be a Godzilla film, because with Mothra and Rodan and everything else, and all of them kind of existing, some of these titles throw me off. Like, was this actually intended in the day to be a Godzilla film, or is it now part of it because Godzilla's in it? Now, I'm not sure if
it was intended as a Godzilla film.
Okay, all right. That's good.
As I said before, it was supposed to be somewhat of a swan song because Kaiju had kind of gone out of fashion, at least in film. So, your audiences were totally blown away by, the superhero shows like Ultraman, and which I highly have to recommend. I need to slip in. Subaraya's first television Ultra series is called Ultra Q. It was a black and white anthology that shares more in common with The Outer Limits than Power Rangers. And I highly recommend that one season. After that, I'm not a huge fan. But a couple things I did want to just touch upon really quick about Destroy All Monsters and why, it works is, okay, so you get to the end of Astro Monster. You have those 2 in the middle that exist. But Astro Monster is about aliens taking control of the monsters. So, with Destroy All Monsters, we're introduced to another intergalactic people, the Colics. And the Colics have basically done the exact same thing with the monsters on Monster Island and their space monster, which I'm assuming is also being controlled, Hedorah. So those are your bad guys, your Colics, and they are coming to basically take over the world. But Inashiro Honda does this beautiful referencing of the atomic age that started Godzilla. So, except for New York, and there's a reason for it, the monsters all go to cities in countries that were part of a NATO accord at that time to abolish nuclear weapons. So each monster is going to one of those cities. And what is in New York? NATO. And he destroys NATO. So there is that, Honda does, get the atomic age punch in there.
Very nice. I love that. And go now coming out of Destroy All Monsters, which I think we all agree really liked, and then going into All Monsters Attack, which turns out to be it's legit a children's movie. It's about a latchkey kid who's teaming up with Manila to learn how to defend himself against his bullies.
Yep.
There's not much more to this. I get it. Like a lot of Godzilla is an allegory for something so huge, and I'm glad you really point that out to me. And that the cities they were attacking were the big holders of, or the big controllers.
They all had nuclear. Each country had a nuclear arms division.
So I mean,
except for New York, which is the home of NATO.
Yeah, so straight up, right off the bat, like they're telling you.
Yep.
So this is an allegory. That's where I think we lose it here, and we lose it in some of the ones where they kind of get drowned out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that this became something? It didn't become something so grand as, listen, nuclear war is bad, or pollution is bad, or this is bad, or environmentalism. Really, it was really just a story about bullies. It was cute. My 7-year-old really liked it. I'm not mad that I watched it, because even for a kid's film, I've seen a lot worse. But yeah, this was a bit of a tough one. Let's get into All Monsters Attack. I didn't love it. I didn't love it for sure. It was a bridge to get to and see these things. But I want to hear what you guys think. And Trevor, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay, I love this film. A little background, yet again, super small budget. Honda basically was also for the first time working with like a single unit, and it was just a small affair because of budget. But yet again, Toho was like, okay, let's see if we can kickstart this yet again by going after the kindergarten crowd. And you got to give Honda amazing amounts of credit, because he does something that to me was revolutionary. He creates a Japan in which Godzilla is totally imaginary. And, so this film is a film where Japan is Godzilla free. Godzilla is now an allegory for possibly the father figure that the little boy Ken, I believe, does not really have. He's a latchkey kid. He does have a very close friend and a babysitter who's an inventor. And Godzilla, all those scenes that we love as fathers of, Godzilla doing things with Manila and, all that good stuff, falls into that. But it also falls into the fact that it's a film all about the amazing ability of imagination to change your life. You have an inventor. You have the little boy has created a special computer out of scraps to communicate with Monster Island. Gabara is just right there. He is solely an allegory for the bully. And it's, it's a lot about how Godzilla supports Manila to finally just approach and not take the bully anymore. Now in this film harks back to some of the Kurosawa connections, because I forget who was it. There was particular person connected, and I think that's Honda actually. Pardon me. There's that whole gangster element and the kidnapping of a child. It goes back to Bad Sleep Well and films like that. So it references both an older genre and also a new crime genre that was very popular at the time. I will say that I feel that it is the best kids film of the 1970s.
You know what? It'd be hard for me to argue with that, only because I don't like the 70s for a lot of things.
The values in the film are amazing.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes,
it teaches amazing value without talking down to a child.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And honestly, I think my biggest issue with this was it might actually make me not like it a little bit more. So Godzilla doesn't exist at all in this world. He's making all of these monsters up, or do they exist and he's making up the interactions?
Well, as far as we know, Godzilla is no more than a toy. We don't have any background of what exactly Godzilla is in his reality.
I will say this, because there is no background, because we don't know, I have to choose to believe Godzilla exists.
Well,
and not that this is happening, but like he knows who Godzilla is and has to become sort of a heroic figure because they know he's a father now. So I think that's what enhanced the experience of this movie for me. Again, not a good, in my opinion, not a great Godzilla movie. The message is clear. My kid even got it. It got through to him, and which is the point. And also, I didn't mind the kids' story. I was like, I just don't think they mixed well together. I'm glad they used Godzilla for this, but it's just so disjointed, so jarring to me. And I'm glad to hear your take on it. I love that. Sturdy, I want to hear your take because we did kind of get into it a little bit, but I want to hear overall, and especially after hearing Trevor what you.
I mean, I get, like I said, the message was nice. I understand all that, but I just wasn't really crazy about this one. It was just too kiddie for me, and I was like, oh man, I was like, come on, please don't do this to me, Godzilla. Don't go down this route. Don't go down too, because but at the same time, I understand why they did it, because it's like, hey, listen, we need more people to watch, and I don't know how we're gonna get women to watch this and keep the male audience. We're gonna have to like two dinosaurs fall in love and make it boring like a soap opera. We don't want to do that, so let's get the kids involved. Let's get the kids involved. And they did it, and it was just one of those ones that I just really wasn't like. I watched, when you're watching a movie and you're just like it's not really grasping for you. You're just watching it, just like it's like I'm here, but I don't know. I didn't hate it. I just didn't really.
So I really like the take that you about both, and I don't think it's bad to not enjoy this film, especially with 40 films. We can't enjoy every. So I get it. But I do appreciate the two different takes. I see the merit in this movie and why it exists, and I'm glad that it does, and I'm glad that those forms of Godzilla exist for younger audiences. Keeps it alive.
But my take on it also has to be the fact that the film is so much better than it should be.
True.
And that's what, in my opinion, makes it work. This is really small, but to hark back to some of the early Godzillas, in Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, when Rodan and Godzilla are being asked by Mothra to basically save the Earth and save it for humans, the actual translation at one point is Godzilla saying, why am I going to help the humans? They keep bullying me. So very small, but if you want to tie it in.
I like it, and that I think that adds a lot, especially going forward. Again, it had to be reinvented, and that's why, like, going into the last film in this episode that we were kind of covering, which is Godzilla versus Hedorah, or you may see it as Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. And a little bit of backstory to this one before we get started, because I was doing some research on why is Godzilla basically fighting a pollution smog type monster. It seems so different, so out there. I definitely get it with the allegories as they've been coming for environmentalism and pollution and such, especially in 71 when this came out.
71, yep. 71.
So for this to come out, a few things I want to applaud. They tried different elements of filmmaking, which I liked, which the animations, the captions, things like they really played around with it, and I kind of dug that. Overall, this isn't one of my favorites. I do like that they kind of went back to a more serious nature after All Monsters Attack, and sort of removed that. They didn't remove a kid element. They kept it, which was good, but I think this worked better than All Monsters Attack, personally. One thing I really do like is that it was inspired by one of the producers, I don't know which one, making a visit and seeing smog covering a city and seeing the foam in the ocean, and just really, like, I like that it's inspired on something like that the producers really dealt with. And I was like, we need to make a message about this. Like, that's very cool. But overall, not one of my favorites, but I actually like this one more than All Monsters Attack. Sturdy, let's go with you first. What'd you think about this movie?
I'm with you on that. I did like it more than All Monsters Attack, but the first thing I thought of watching this with the one monster was, where the hell's Captain Planet? But he wasn't around yet.
Don't worry, Jet Jaguar coming.
He wasn't around till the 90s to help save the day. But no, this one, again, it was kid geared, and I understand it has another message, which I get the message, I get the important message of it, but it still was one that really wasn't for me. For me, it was I liked it better than the previous one, All Monsters Attack, a little bit better, but still wasn't like that grabbed my attention. Like, Destroy All Monsters was just a fun freaking time.
Yeah.
The Shroud Monster's the first one. I'm getting the damn titles mixed up.
It is, they kind of throw them at you, so I definitely get it. But this is so. Actually, before we go on to Trevor, because I really want to hear what you think about this, I do want to say that in the next episode of this show, or the next 2 episodes, and I want to mention this on the show too, for people anybody are going along. So 2 weeks from now, we're supposed to be getting into more of the 80s. We're going to start with Terror of Mecha-Godzilla. If you cannot find The Return of Godzilla 1984 and you're watching along with us, and this goes for you guys too, it's okay. You can let that one go. Just watch Godzilla 1985. It is a very hard movie to find, unless you own it, I'm sure. I don't know if you own it yet, Trevor.
Kraken released it several years ago on Blu-ray, and it's out of print.
Yeah. And I'm anxious to see it. It's one that I do think, because I really, when we get to Godzilla 85, I have a lot of thoughts, and it makes me really want to watch Godzilla, Return of Godzilla, so much more. But I will get there. But if you can't find
it's also the return. I have to say this, where we talk about Smog Monster anymore. It is the return of Yoshimitsu Banno, who was the director of Smog Monster.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it deter you.
And there's a whole bunch about him that I'll tell you about.
No, I'm not.
So,
okay, well, we'll save that for Godzilla 1985. I'm very excited about it. But let's go back. That's a great segue back to Godzilla versus Hedorah. And Trevor, you are our kaiju snob. You are the man that we go to. If you could talk to us a little bit about this movie, if you have any insights for it, we'd love to hear them.
Okay. Well, number one, it is either one of the most famous or infamous of the Godzilla films. And it depends how the audience takes to it. Now, Banno had a great resume. He started as an actor, but then soon became a second unit director for Akira Kurosawa on such films as Throne of Blood, The Hidden Fortress. He had made some very interesting stuff, and he was rather close with Honda and that whole crew, that whole kind of repertory crew that, there's a lot that parallels the Godzilla crew world and the Akira Kurosawa world. So number one is this has got some great stuff going into it. The music in itself, which is just insane. The gentleman who did that, Akiro Manabe, he usually did horror films, and then he also did a large number of the violent Pinky films. So this is a total offshoot for him, and it's the music actually is one of the things that caught me as a young person to fall in love with this film, because they wanted Banno to do something different. They're like, you need to revitalize Godzilla, but you can only have one unit and you have 35 days to do it. That was the filming schedule. Now, looking at that was made in 35 days. That's pretty impressive. And how Banno plays, not just with so the music jumps from everything from, reminiscent of the Godzilla March to it being psychedelia, freak out all over the place. And it is also probably the only film that you can say borrows a lot from 1954. It has the scientist. Godzilla is he's not here for the humans. Now, the kid thing almost seems like an ESP, or, just by bizarre chance, this kiddo has monster eye, instead of squirrels, like Godzilla. But that's about as kiddie as it gets, because it also gets downright gory. So the inserts of the animation, the gore, the opening title sequence, which may as well be a James Bond title sequence, is just so crazy and so bizarre. And also, Godzilla, as I was touching on before, Godzilla is doing this for himself. He's not doing it for the humans, because the humans are screwing up the world yet again. So Godzilla has to come, and he has to clean it up. And then at the end, where they have the whole... Okay, so there's a reason why the military only had 25 people budget. That bothered me when I rewatched it. They can't even figure out this thing, so Godzilla has to power these two monoliths that basically dry Hedorah up. Godzilla's got to take care of it because the humans can't figure it out. And then he just walks off into the sunset and it's like, thanks, guys. I did it because it's my world. And, that's why I love this movie. It's such a pause of bizarre psychedelia and gore and animation. It's fun for me.
There's some very good, especially in recent years of Godzilla, of what we've been watching in the show era. There's some very good horror elements. And Sergey, I'd like to talk to you about that a little bit. I'm glad you brought them up. But like even that nightclub scene, with everything slowly pouring in and everybody just dancing, and you're kind of out there. And I love that they have the dancing and just the partying go on for a little too long, so you drop your guard down a bit. That's what it felt like to me, because once things started seeping in, you just felt the dread, even as slow as it was. Like I love that filmmaking style choice, and you don't see it in a lot of horror thrillers today. I think that's an old school way of showing horror without really showing any gore. But you're right about the gore, because Godzilla's getting cut up in this big time, and it's like splatter.
The cow patty eye. How did everybody feel about Godzilla flying?
It was different.
That's weird. I'm sorry. I think it was a bad choice, but it was different.
I'm not defending it. I'm not defending it at all. I'm just gonna leave it. It is kind of funny that in today's world, with seeing him run in the new movies, and the people are like, Godzilla doesn't run, and it's like, everybody, he just destroyed the planet himself by using nuclear atomic blast breath to fly.
But he can't run.
Yeah, but he can't run. The world.
That's one of those. That's one of those things though, where us as movie watchers, whatever genre it is, mainly horror, like something great. Like again, you can watch a Friday the 13th movie. Someone can get thrown out of window. Like, how did they get up? But Jason can get blown up, shot out of a cannon, electrocuted, gets up, and he gets up fine. There's no question like that. That just makes sense. Like that just makes sense.
Well, I think I like Godzilla -1 sort of, and I have a lot to watch, so it might be something that's happened in other movies, but the regenerative power of watching it happen, especially in that beautiful stop motion, it just answers that question for me now. It took 40 years for a question to be answered to me. Like, why does Godzilla be able to take all this stuff? It's because he regenerates at a high speed. Why wouldn't anybody ever think about that? Now, again, they may have said that in other things, but I'm only going so far by everything I've watched. I stay a little bit ahead of you guys during the rewatches, just so that way I could prep the shows. So, like, I'm still like waiting for it. I'm like, say it. Just say something. Somebody say regenerative skill. You don't really say anything.
Regenerative skills,
or something from the atomic blast gave it to him.
Which that did look cool in the movie too. I was like, oh my gosh, man.
Oh, we'll get there.
I can't help it, man. This is your fault.
You're Godzilla head now. That's how it goes.
For at least for that one,
may I offer Trevor? He knows all.
No.
I'm getting that one for sure. I'm buying that one when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah,
it better have both versions of black and white and in color on it, or I'm just gonna go with the black and white first, because that's just oh my god.
I will tell you this: looking up the director as you were telling me, Yoshimitsu Banno. I want to try and get him right, even though I'm not getting it. And looking through his career connected through Godzilla,
he's very important in the United States right now.
Yes, he is. I mean, he's rest in peace. He passed away in 2017, but he was one of the producers that kicked off the new legendary Godzilla.
He was the figurehead for the U.S. Godzilla, and making that connection with Toho. So Banno, as I said before, he had this great resume, and at the time they were making Smog Monster, it was also had to get out quickly. Well, the long-term producer Tanaka was ill and in the hospital, so he didn't get to oversee this. As soon as it was seen by him and there wasn't time to redo it, he banned Banno from Toho. He flat out said, "This is a piece of shit. Banno, your career's done."
Oh,
wow. That's so weird.
So when he re-enters in 1984, it gets really interesting.
Other than the silly flying that went into it, like I would have been cooler if he had called Rodan and maybe Rodan picked him up. I mean, granted, I know that's physics-wise, that's not really how it works either. But we've already overshot with the atomic blast flying thing. So, like, I mean, at this point,
there's a surrealism to this film, which I think is meant to be.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a mind fuck. So
It's exactly what it was.
Other than those
Into that
silly
shit.
bits that existed in it, which you can go back to any other Godzilla film and say the same thing in a lot of ways. I did enjoy this movie. I don't understand all the hate for it. I think this is a good one. Overall, is this one that you could see yourselves putting on TV if it was on or something like that? I think I could. I think I could revisit this one with no problem.
I
For
have
me-
to rewatch at least once a year.
Damn. Well,
Ooh.
that is a high praise.
For
What about
me,
you?
out of the three, it would just be Destroy All Monsters that I would give a rewatch to.
Okay, I like it. This one I could see being rewatched, but it's going to be on like the Godzilla channel on Pluto.
Mhm.
Destroy All Monsters, like I may end up buying all the box sets just to have everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I can definitely, like, if I do decide to just pick the ones I want, I'd pick up Hedorah. I'd probably pick up Hedorah before Destroy All Monsters.
Mhm.
And not to say it's a better movie in my eyes, but I had more fun with this.
Okay.
Well, it's also really cool because it was made for virtually nothing. It was made in 35 days. And, you know, once you understand the budgetary and time constraints to the film, things start making a little bit more sense. Things like the fact that Hedorah and Godzilla are at times fighting on a blank soundstage and there's nothing there. You have the army of Japan consisting of maybe 25 people, all standing at a table with binoculars, and you know, it with so little time and so little money and such crazy creativity, it shouldn't exist, but it does.
I will say the fact that you told me about really the idea of guerrilla filmmaking behind this to have to get it done
Mhm.
makes me, I think, appreciate it, because it almost feels like an independent version of Godzilla.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh.
that was produced, of course,
Wait,
by
looking at it.
Toho, but to have that feel of an indie quality film that wasn't bad. They were really putting a lot of heart and soul in what they had into this.
Mhm.
But that's where you see all like those little things where they cut the corners, and it's just kind of like the flying and stuff. It was like, well, he needs to fly. What are we gonna do? You know, let's
Yeah.
try this. Didn't work, but it's the same reason I like so many indie films. It's like, yeah, it didn't work what you're trying to do, but I respect what you're trying to do.
You went there at least. You tried to do something. So I see
Yeah.
that. I see that.
So I think that earns a little bit of a softer spot in my heart for this movie. I do enjoy it, but overall, as a recommendation, would you recommend these three to people? Would you not recommend them? Where do you stand on them? And Trevor, I want to start with you on this one.
Okay, well, Destroy All Monsters, you can recommend anybody who's a Godzilla fan. The middle one, All Monsters Attack, honestly is based on whether or not you're looking for a kid's film that is different. So no, I can't say I would recommend that. Smog Monster, I would only really recommend it to people who are already looking at kind of out there cinema. You know, I'd be more likely to say watch Godzilla versus Hedorah to a Barbarella fan versus a Godzilla versus Mothra fan.
Okay, so to add to that, and for our sturdy heads out there who are fans of the new Startovision show, and we've been talking about it, would you say Hedorah is one that you would say should go on that sort of show, like that weird out there? And I get that because this is a 70s movie. It's the first Godzilla in the 70s. And that was a weird decade of movies. And there was more violence and there was more to it and things like that. So, like, I get what you're saying. I really like that too. This does feel more, in a weird way, this feels more grown up in tone in a lot of ways. Even with the stupid flying. And a couple of the other choices.
Even with the stupid flying.
That would be a funny one. I like that. Sturdy, what about you with these three?
Honestly, I'd probably say watch at your own risk for these three, unless you're a Godzilla fan, one, or if you're doing the whole watch them. But if you're a Godzilla fan, I'd say check them out. If you're someone who's trying to get into Godzilla, I would say check them out if you're going through the whole thing. If you're going through the whole franchise, if you want to watch the whole thing, then check them out. If not, watch at your own risk. Again, I'll never tell you not to watch a movie just because who am I to tell you not to watch something?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you completely on that one because, you know, you can't recommend Destroy All Monsters until people have seen at least some of the films leading up on it.
Yeah.
I mean, because Destroy All Monsters is, you know, on a special effects end intense. So, you can't really just recommend that film to a non-Godzilla fan. You know, It's like blowing your load and then going, well, go back and watch the other one. So
Yeah.
I love it. You know what? I would definitely Destroy All Monsters. Everybody should see. I think that's a good movie, especially if you like to say. Well, I'm not gonna say everybody because I do realize there are people out there who won't give older movies the time of day.
They just want
I feel like if you can't learn to appreciate those things, this isn't for you anyway. But I would recommend if you want to get your kids into Godzilla, Son of Godzilla and All Monsters Attack are two good ones.
I would say depending on their ages, though.
Yeah. My 11-year-old, he'll watch them, but he'll watch them with the same sort of mind I am.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old was all in though because it's Godzilla, and and why not? And to have Son of Godzilla, he's like, wow, like okay, cool. So I would definitely say if you have kids, those two, and even the Jet Jaguar one, Gigan. Or no, Megalon is Jet Jaguar. Those three are good for, I think, kids to really get involved into it. Now anybody can check out Hedorah. I think they should. I think you should make it's such a weird movie. You should make your own decisions about it. But if I can make a plea to filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers, watch all three of these movies. I think these three movies in particular, if you're getting that, it's showing you what you can do on a low budget in 35 days with a huge IP. Godzilla was not a slouch in 1971.
Yeah.
I mean, we're almost at 15 movies, so he's no slouch.
But he was barely holding on at that point because the popularity was not there.
But he comes back, so everything
he sticks
know now,
around. Yeah.
So he won it over with that one, I think, and especially going on, bringing it back more to the verses and having that grown-up tone to it. But everything else, like I would say, for filmmakers, if you want to get into writing for kids, All Monsters Attack, like Trevor said, is a really well done movie that's different for kids, and I think that's something that should be studied. And to come off of Destroy All Monsters, I would say watch that in this grouping because you see what the 60s had to say about Godzilla, their answers for Godzilla, and you get to see what the 70s really grounded it. You have aliens for the second time controlling these monsters to attack us. And then by you get to the 70s, it's our own undoing, and Godzilla has to come and protect because it's his world too. And it's such a different tone. These three groupings, I did not do it on purpose. I didn't know it would be like this. I do feel gel really well with how different they are, and very telling of the times. I like these movies. This is not my favorite set, and as we go on, it's going to change some more. But for you, if we want to do, why don't we try something a little bit different on this one? What's your rating for each of the films? And we'll do 1 out of 5 on the scene stuff. While they think about that, my ratings for Destroy All Monsters is a 7. All Monsters Attack is a 4, and Godzilla versus Hedorah is a 5.5. Oh wait, no, I said out of 5. I'm on Sturdy's show, so those would correlate to 4.5, maybe 1.5 or 2, and then I would put it at maybe a 3.5, 3.5.
Okay, so Destroy All Monsters. You're making me go 1 through 5. This is just way off of my rating scale. So how does a normal person rate things?
I couldn't do that negative.
I'll say a 3 for that one, and then the other two I'll give them a 1.
Wow. Okay, low. How about you, Trevor?
Destroy All Monsters, a 4. All Monsters Attack, 2.5. Okay. And Smog Monster, I would also give a 4. Now that's with very personal reasons.
Nothing wrong with that.
I was exposed to a lot of cinema I shouldn't see when I was very young. So at the same time, I was already kind of learning film language. And Godzilla vs. Hedorah, I think, does the most experimenting with basic film language. And I think that's why I really enjoyed it. So just on a personal level, I just love that movie. So I have to give it a 4.
Love it. I love that. I love when that comes into play on movies too. I want to say thank you to all you guys who are watching these movies along with us. And if you are, we'd love to hear your ratings too. So make sure you hit it up in the comments. Head over to our Discord. It's down in the description below in the link tree. All these different places you can come and you can talk to us and tell us what you think. But the Discord is really where we're going to see it. We can have the conversations. So join up with us there. Next week, we will be back with 3 more movies, and that is going to be Godzilla versus Gigan from 1972, Godzilla versus Megalon from 1973, and then we are going to be introduced to Godzilla versus Mecha-Godzilla from 1974. It's going to get real interesting. It's going to get a lot of fun, but you're not going to know it's here unless you hit subscribe, and hit that bell. When this show and other great shows come out, make sure to check him out. But you want to make sure to check out Horror with Sir Sturdy podcast. He's got great shows going on over there. Lots of really fun stuff over on his channel. You can watch, listen. Sturdovision is here, and tons more coming as well. And then you definitely want to go check out as well Ambassador Video and Media by our buddy Trevor here. Man knows. I mean, you're sitting here. You hear it. You know how much he knows. Like the guy knows.
I do.
Music is like, oh, it's so much fun. So go.
I'm
check
old.
Dude, even if it doesn't, it comes with such a beautiful reverence that you hold for these things that you talk about.
Well, thank you.
It shows up, and that's what I love about it. So I want to say thank you guys for coming on for another episode. We'll be back next week with episode 5. Make sure to join in. Make sure to just follow us everywhere, do all that stuff, and all the stuff's in the descriptions below. But be kind, stay classy, and take care of yourselves, because that's important. Until next time.
And thank you to all, Sir Sturdy, Mick.
Yes,
you
sir.
guys are amazing. Everybody who is checking out the show. Yet again, I have to agree with Mick. Please ask questions, comments. This is an open discussion about 70 years of the greatest monster in cinema. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, talk to you soon. Take care.
Peace.